All right, everybody, welcome back to the Planet Film Network. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk. And today we are talking about episode 3 of House of the Dragon, titled Second of His Name, in honor of Prince Aegon being born. So yeah, we're just going to jump right in. We are going to maybe do like a minute each of non-spoiler, and then jump into spoiler, just because, you know, if you're watching a review / discussion of episode 3 of a show, hopefully you're watching the show. Maybe you're not. That's up to you. You know, do whatever you like. But first off, I'll just go first real quick. I thought this was fantastic. Again, for me, this has just proven to be the absolute standout of the summer to me, of these new shows. We have a big crop of things, you know, popping up with Lord of the Rings, House of the Dragon, She-Hulk, Andor, Cobra Kai Season 5 coming up. Cobra Kai, obviously, a known quantity, but really we have a lot of brand new shows just starting out, and this, to me, has been fantastic, continues to do so. This show, for me, continually keeps you, like, really invested in the main three characters of Daemon, Viserys, and Rhaenyra, but every episode so far, we have gotten more development with the other characters as well. Like, episode 1, we really got a lot with Rhys Ifans as Otto Hightower. Episode 2 was more like kind of Corlys Valerian, like a lot more with him. This one dealt a lot more with kind of introducing some of the other players. We meet Jason Lannister this week. We meet his twin brother, Tyrion Lannister. A lot of different people introduced. And also, this, to me, kind of sets up the groundwork for kind of where Daemon, Rhaenyra, and Viserys' heads are going to be at going on to the rest of the season. Because really now, we kind of have everybody firmly in place, and we're just going to be ready to just kind of, like, rip and just run with it for the rest of the season. So, again, huge climactic thing at the end was fantastic. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. Great character work, for everybody, basically. Great acting. Again, Paddy Constantine, to me, is still the standout. Matt Smith is incredible, but I expected that. Paddy Constantine is, to me, just absolutely amazing. Same with Millie Alcock as well. But yeah, those are my quick thoughts on it. Amazing episode again. All right, yeah, so do you want to just hop into spoilers real quick on this?
Yeah, sure.
So, what do you think is your standout moment or favorite moment from the episode that we got?
Oh, I think hands down my favorite episode, or my favorite part of the episode, is the fight at the end. They did a very good job, I thought, of building the suspense of, you know, you're expecting the dragon to show up, and they like wait till the possible last second to have it show up, which I thought was really nice. Again, it felt to me like when all the men are converging on Daemon in the middle. It felt like when Jon Snow, they're all like rushing towards him. He's just like him and his sword right there. That's what it felt like to me. I was kind of disappointed that they didn't show the battle between him and the crab guy. I thought that was kind of odd that they just had him walk out with his body, which looked pretty gross. But overall, that was for the episode, that was the highlight for me.
Yeah. I think for me too. I think if I had to pick a highlight, it would definitely be that, just because this show constantly, and I don't know if it's maybe, you know, all the Disney Plus shows we've been getting where I'm like, oh man, gotten so used to such short episodes.
Right.
But like, I'm like, okay, we're at the 46-minute mark, and Daemon had a great opening, because the opening of this episode also, and either of us aren't saying if the show's only good when it's Daemon. It's just those were the two big action scenes of this episode. But great opening. But I was like, we haven't seen Daemon at all since that in like 45 minutes. We're running like, is he even going to be, you know, in it a lot or anything? And then it just cuts to it, and then we have this entire, you know, what would be an entire Disney Plus episode just of Daemon and Corlys and everybody, you know, at the Stepstones and stuff. Just absolutely some of the best action we've gotten in this show so far, I think. I think we got a tease of it with the tournament in the first episode, obviously. a little more of a standoff and stuff in the second episode, and then here we really fully got a nice, open battlefield thing. And I just love that Daemon just seems so like determined, because basically, spoiler wise, what happens is Viserys finally, after 3 years, finally decides to send aid to his brother. And as soon as Daemon basically finds that out, his reaction is not, oh, thank God he's going to finally help. It's, okay, my brother thinks that I can't handle this. I'm going to, he basically just goes on a suicide run because he's like, well, I'm either going to single-handedly stop this war right now without the help of my brother, or I'm going to die and, he can win it whatever he wants. But I am not, going to go out, on his terms, basically. Which I thought was awesome, because Daemon, and people have talked about this online too, is, Daemon's armor and his helmets and everything like that being so kind of over the top. And so I love that this was literally just him sailing, a one rowboat into basically enemy territory, no helmet, barely any armor, just him and his sword and his dagger, which comes up. But just kind of facing off the odds and just proving himself. And I think that we're going to see that not only did that, like, prove to fans that Daemon can kind of hold his own and is a kind of worthy warrior, but I think actually in Westeros, too, this is going to kind of bolster his legend and kind of bring more people over to Daemon's side. That, maybe he's not just this, arrogant, kind of foolhardy kind of person, but he actually is a worthy warrior, someone that could be king one day. So I'm glad that everything like that is just kind of doubling down for all these different characters. But yeah, I think definitely end of the episode is definitely the best for me. But
there was a point in that little kind of those 20 minutes or so when he's like basically running through everybody that's coming up towards him. He's just like taking them all down. And there was a point, and I was like, he has to get hit by like an arrow or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, we can't make him bulletproof. And then he gets it like 2 or 3 times. Like, okay, we finally, like, thank God we saved that part. But no, yeah, everything I thought was great. And I thought it was interesting too that there's mention of like his crew getting very annoyed with him, I guess to say, like, there's talk of maybe a mutiny or something like this, and I feel like him kind of storming and then just doing it all by himself almost just kind of like puts that all to rest, where it's like, okay, we're actually gonna follow, like, our faith is restored in this guy, and we'll follow him to do whatever it takes. Which I was also, the way the letters are written, when he gets mad, it's almost kind of like, maybe for a split second I thought maybe somebody else wrote that letter to the king, and then he got that back. He was like so pissed, and but I'm assuming he did write it, right? You would assume.
Wait,
that.
Which letter?
When Daemon wrote the letter to Viserys and Viserys wrote the letter back, he wrote that, right?
No, that wasn't Daemon. That was
that's what I thought. That's what
that was similar names, especially out of Paddy Considine's mouth, but that was Vaemon, Corlys's brother, the one that wanted the mutiny against Daemon.
Right. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I was like, when he read it, at first I was like, wait, did he say that Daemon wrote it? And I couldn't remember. And I'm still trying to track all the names. There's still a lot of names.
Oh yeah, I mean, Vaemon was literally just dropped in our laps this episode in the last like 20 minutes. So I mean, that's totally fair. But speaking of his grace, what did you think of kind of Viserys' run at his Robert Baratheon impression with his big tournament, getting super drunk, kind of going through the motions?
When I was watching that, I was like, was this in Game of Thrones? And then I was like, oh yeah, he got hurt by the boar or whatever it was, or the bear, or whatever it was when he was hunting. Yeah, he didn't want to do that. He seemed, he did not want to kill that deer, it seemed. And I think it just again reigns true to what Daemon said, is that he's weak, and I think everybody can see that, and I think he's trying his best to hide that. And I mean, it doesn't help when he's like not forcing Rhaenyra to get married as well. You know, everybody's like, well, she's got to get married. And even he recognized that she has to get married. But he's basically said, and I'm not sure if this is going to, you know, come back, but he was like, I'm not going to, you go find your own person. That's what he said. So as long as he doesn't, you know, go back on that, she should be fine. But I'm not sure about, you know, everybody else, especially Hightower, who I've also noticed is the most, would you say, unlikable hand so far that we've ever seen?
Oh, unlikable hand? Yeah, because even the worst hand we definitely have seen was Tywin, but like Tywin Lannister, like Charles Dance was so good you like loved it to hate him. But yeah, no, in terms of because Littlefinger was on the King's Council,
right?
But Littlefinger was not, you know, out there actively trying to steal the throne from like Robert or from Joffrey. You know what I mean? Like, Otto is, and now his brother too coming into the fold. You know, the Hightowers they're trying to literally like get themselves on the throne, like make him king consort. Otto even has that suggestion, which even for a Targaryen was a little bit much of, well, why doesn't she just marry her 2-year-old brother?
That I was
what?
Like, what?
he was like he's barely 2, and he was like, well, it would sure up any doubts about who would be the you know the king and queen.
You think Viserys has to like realize that too, right? Like he's like, wait, I just had a kid with your daughter, and that means if my daughter, who's the heir, now marries my son, that would give you some sort of. You think he'd like probably put those puzzle pieces together? I'd hope.
I think that is where maybe Viserys, maybe where his faults start to come in, is that to him, you know, he says as much to Rhaenyra in this episode towards the end when he's saying, you know, and I love that she calls him out because he's like, we marry for station, we marry for advantage, we marry for all this. And she said, if we marry for advantage, you would have married Lyanna Valerian, not Alicent. And he's just like, he pulls a Walter White. You go, you got me. You know, like that guy. And then, but then he says to her, you know, you can pick who you want. Make your own match like I did, meaning Alicent. So he is so, and then Alicent tells him, oh, man, these Hightowers, man, they're giving the Lannisters a run for their money. Alicent tells the king she needs to believe it was her choice. Just like he believes it was his choice to marry Alicent, when in reality it was Otto and Alicent playing him the whole time, really. You know, like that's the thing, is that it's so crazy. But I think you're absolutely right with that.
Who's the guy that the name's escaping me, and at the moment when he says the guy's name, I like didn't want to look it up and I forgot the name. But when the knight comes up and is like, "Oh, I have a suggestion," or not the knight, whoever he is, and he says, "Oh, she should get married to so and so." Who was that again?
Are you talking about the guy
when he's
like
drunk,
with the black hair and the beard?
I think so. Yeah, he's like sitting on the throne.
Because I want to talk about him because he, to me, he is fastly becoming one of my favorite characters, and this is Gavin Spokes as Lord Lionel Strong. Because last week we got Strong is the only one giving him the truth of, for the best for your family, the best for you, the best for the realm, marry Lyanna Valerian. That's who you should marry. And then this episode, you know, he comes up and he says, you know, I'd like to offer you counsel again about this. And, you know, Viserys is very angry and all this stuff, you know, and he's like, let me guess. She should be married to your eldest son, who's the strongest knight. And he's like, well, no, actually, I wasn't going to say that. Like, I just love, he seems like, you know, a Samuel Tarly, like 20 years older. Like, he just seems like the honest guy who's actually has the realm and the king's best interest at heart. And so who he was talking about was who comes in on the dragon later, who is Leonor Valerian, who is basically Corlys's son. So he was like 5 or 6, or not 5 or 6, but he was the younger actor in the first episode, and he is the first actor to change. So this is now the older actor that's going to be playing him throughout the rest of the season, because all 4 of the main kids are going to have older actors come in and replace them at some point. My guess is probably the midpoint of the season at this point. But so that's who that is the sea snake's son. So he's basically saying, well, I came to you years ago and I said you should marry the sea snake's daughter. Now I'm saying to you, Rhaenyra should marry the sea snake's son for the exact same reason. You know, you need Daemon, you need Corlys in your corner. You can't keep letting this divide in your family, in your own house, you know, grow. And that's kind of how Viserys kind of operates with everything, is that he wants to do what he thinks is right by people, but because of that, he's kind of letting down and failing the realm. And I love that that's just going to continuously come and bite him. And I love the Ned Stark comparison that people made, that it's just his honor and what he thinks is the right move for his daughter, or for these private matters, like, you know, I won't go to war with my brother, you know, that kind of thing. Well, you know, kicking him out, now he's making this huge play at Dragonstone. Now he's got this whole war going on, you know, that you don't have a part of. And like he says, if I all of a sudden go in to assist with this war, I'll look weak and I'll look like an idiot because I've let this thing go on for so long without interfering, type of thing. So I really like that. I just really love the dynamic that's at play with everybody. But I will say this, I'm rewatching Game of Thrones right now, so I was like having a weird moment because Jefferson Hall, who plays Jason / Tyland Lannister, he was also in Devs and Tenet, and he was the podcaster in 2018's Halloween. That was probably his most prominent role. He was in Game of Thrones in the first like 5 episodes at David. I almost said David Baratheon. That's not even a person. At Robert Baratheon's the tournament, the jousting tournament. He played Hugh from the Vale. He was Jon Arryn's squire in Game of Thrones. But I was like, that's definitely the same guy, right?
Yeah.
And it is. He's just playing different characters now. Oh, okay. But I love that. It's like this guy was like basically just starting his career and was in 2 episodes of season 1, and now all of a sudden he's coming back and he's going to be playing kind of the face of the Lannisters in this show, or I should say the two faces. But I love that. Yeah, he was impaled by the mountain in Game of Thrones.
Oh,
R.I.P. But he's doing great in this show so far. And I love that, you know, he is trying to vie for Rhaenyra's hand, and that, you know, Viserys is like, well, this seems like an easy match. You know, Casterly Rock is obviously, the Lannisters, obviously, they're still rising in Westeros. They're not the Lannisters that we know, but, you know, it's still a great match and everything. But yeah, what do you think about all the marriage stuff and kind of everything that's happening kind of at the tournament and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that when he goes up to him, he's like, oh, you know, maybe suggest like, oh, she should marry so and so. I think that's he doesn't give me the vibe, Lord Lionel Strong. He doesn't give me the vibe of like going for power or anything, you know. He's just actually trying to, and he gives me, like he said, Samwell vibes as well. I got Varys vibes from him as well. Because Varys was never, if I recall correctly, he wasn't ever this like power hungry, you know, person. Like he was trying to move up the ranks, but I don't think he ever wanted to be.
That's kind of the difference between him and Littlefinger, is that like Varys is genuinely trying to help.
Right.
In most cases.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see, like I said, like how many years the next episode like moves forward. Yeah. And I was looking because I was like, oh, there's his son Aegon, right? That's his name. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, where? Because I'm still trying to figure out like the lineage. I was like, is Aegon? Because I'm trying to get how we get to like Mad King and then Daenerys. So I'm like, what is like the
So
family line with that?
I've stayed away from that middle section because I
Yeah,
don't want deaths or years
right.
spoiled for any
Well,
of these characters.
did you see the since you're rewatching Game of Thrones, you'll probably see it. Like, and I don't know, maybe you've seen it on TikTok because that's where I've seen it. But like Joffrey like mentions like Rhaenyra in like an episode, and like what
Yeah, like
happens to her. Okay,
they definitely mention it.
yeah,
And to me, if something is set, because I think I saw that on TikTok too. It was like
yeah,
part 5 of Times Game of Thrones spoiled House of the
yeah,
Dragon. It was probably that same creator or
yeah.
whatever. But and I'm like, to me, I'll that's admissible in court.
Uh,
For a little She-Hulk reference. That's to me is fine because I know I've already seen it. It just means I've forgotten it.
mm,
I will say there is a cause of death that was spoiled for me that I am trying to root out of my brain
yeah,
because I'm really hoping that this is going to happen on screen like 5 or 6 years from now. And it's kind of out of my brain, but I keep remembering it every so often. So I'm hoping by the time we get there, I will have forgotten it. But that being said, I obviously will not say what that is. Um, Basically, there's a unknown grandchildren, whatever, and then then we eventually get to the Mad King, Ares the second, I believe he is, and then his children were Rhaegar and Daenerys, and then another brother, I forget his name. Um, we are not book readers, just so you guys know.
yeah, oh, yeah, no,
But massive Game of Thrones fans, don't get us wrong. But TJ and me, it's been a long time since we've seen all the episodes. I'm right in season 2 of my rewatch, so I still have a lot of ways to go to have the names fresh. But then Rhaegar, who is Daenerys' brother, spoilers for Game of Thrones, uh, bedded Lyanna Stark, who is Ned's sister, who was with Robert Baratheon, and then Rhaegar and Lyanna had a kid, and that was Aegon the Sixth of his name, who is Jon Snow. Yeah. So that's how that works. But but like messy. I said, but there is that middle section of like, let's just say Aegon the Second, who is 2 in this episode. There's like probably like 110 years between that. So I'm gonna just assume, and again, you can comment if you want, but we're not gonna read comments if they're spoilers, just so you guys know. Between Aegon, I would say I would estimate that Aegon the Second in this episode is probably the Mad King's grandfather, maybe great grandfather, depending on if he dies or something like that. Which again I don't know off the top of my head, but it's probably that. So it's probably when you get to Daenerys, it's like a great great grandfather.
Like just thinking like, and I know we're episode 3 is season 1. We don't know.
Yeah.
What their idea for the future of the seasons are and everything, but I was like, the rate we're going, we could get there. Like, we're skipping multiple years at a time per episode. So like, if they really wanted to, they could get to that time. I don't know if they will, but that's just something I found interesting.
I honestly could see once this show, I don't think we would get that far in this show.
Yeah.
But and also I'm saying I would want this, is give me in 10 years a show about Robert's Rebellion. Like, give me a show about the Mad King and Robert's Rebellion, young Robert, young Ned, all that stuff. Yeah. Like, give me that show. That would be incredible. You'd have to recast a lot of people, obviously, but it would be fine because they're like 25 years younger.
Right.
So, you could have like an 18-year-old Jaime Lannister type of thing, or maybe even younger than that, because maybe you could have the first season be actually during, be the actual fall of the Mad King, with a, very young Daenerys and everything. But yeah, I would love that. I think that would be great, because I think obviously they're going to be telling stories in this universe on HBO for decades and decades to come.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. But speaking of this show, what are some things, or what is one thing that you hope to see next week? Basically, we'll each do one of those, and then we'll kind of wrap it. And let us know, guys, too, what's something that you want to see next episode, or overall thoughts, or where you think the show's going. Let us know all that and more down below. But what do you want to see?
What do I want to say? I want to see Daemon go back to King's Landing and be like what I did, you know, like I did it without you, did it without your help, like
kind of his victory lap,
you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say, now, are you still not, I think the first one you did, but are you still not watching the end thing?
Correct.
On the episode?
No.
Okay. So I know, I'm not going to tell you one way or another, I won't ruin it for you, but I know some things. I am just excited. This I don't think was shown. I just really want to see Viserys and Daemon back on screen together, just because I think that relationship is kind of dynamite on this show, with Patty Constantine and Matt Smith. So like you said, I'd love to see kind of his victory lap, but also how is Viserys going to react to, okay, you won, but you rejected my aid. I reached out a hand of aid to you, to my brother, to step in. I know I was wrong for not doing it sooner, but I still did it, and you basically spat in my face, aka you beat the hell out of one of my men for no reason. Literal definition of don't shoot the messenger, but pummel his face in with your helmet instead. I would just really like that. I just want a scene between the two brothers again, and I know obviously that's gonna be coming as well. And also, I thought to myself, I could still be wrong, but I had a great thought in this episode which made me very happy, which is I am constantly, this episode, like, was on the edge of my seat, worried about people dying, including Viserys. And Viserys, to me, is, like, #1 on Death Watch.
Oh, yeah.
But then I remember this is a story about, like, the struggle of the succession of him. So if he dies, the whole struggle is over. So I might be wrong in that, but I'm assuming, doesn't that mean that he should make it till the end, or at least close to the end?
Even if he dies and Rhaenyra takes over, there's still that struggle, because a lot of people don't see her as,
or like,
the rightful heir.
Like I sent you the gif. Every time Alicent's on screen, I'm just like, what a snake. But she could pull a Cersei too. And I'm just talking because again, if you comment spoilers, we won't read them. But just so you know, we don't know this information. Alicent could pull a Cersei move or something, and what if when Viserys dies, she takes the throne or something, and you could say, well, that's not the line of succession. Well, look what happened, with Robert and everything. But anything's on the table for the show, but I am absolutely loving it so far. Again, I was telling everybody, like, at work that we were talking about it. I was telling all of them, to me, I just cannot wait every week to find out what happens to these characters next. And I have been missing that in a show, just because, like, Better Call Saul, obviously it was an amazing season, but we knew it was the end, so it was kind of like, all right. And also, because that's a prequel that's so close in time to the other show, you kind of know only a certain amount of things can happen. It's 200 years. So these people can have lives, have relationships, live, die, all that stuff, and we have no idea about it. So really anything's on the table. So I'm just so excited to see basically, how it all unfolds. But I think absolutely stellar episode for me and TJ, sounds like. But that will do it for us for this episode 3, second of his name review / discussion of this episode of House of the Dragon. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, subscribe down below. Follow us on TikTok at the official PFN. That'll do it for me. I've been one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I've been your other host, TJ Cornwell. Thank you for watching. Let us know what you thought about the episode in the comments below. Maybe what you think will happen. No spoilers, please. As Sean said, follow us on our social medias, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and we'll see you next time.
Boom.